The 49ers are off today, but they have practice tomorrow. Will Trent Williams be there? We'll discuss that next and more on Cohn and Hensley. Good morning. Welcome to Cohn and Hensley. Going a little earlier than usual. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Ryan G. Hensley. Make sure you like and subscribe both channels, both shows. We're going to be talking today about Trent Williams. He's the last domino to fall, the last player to sign. Brandon Aiyuk is here. But we need to start with Ricky Pearsall, a full update. He was shot in the chest. He was discharged the next day. It seems like he's going to, I don't know what okay means, but it seems like he's going to be okay. What do we know about Ricky Pearsall right now?
Well, it's just very good to hear that he's doing good. He's out already. That's a great sign. To be shot in the chest, it goes in your chest, out your back, and then you're out of the hospital less than 24 hours later is just crazy and fantastic news for Ricky Pearsall, and it's a good sign for his recovery. I've never heard of anyone being shot in the chest and getting out with less than 24 hours later. So very happy to hear that for Ricky Pearsall. Tough kid. There was a report that came out, I guess a police officer, a woman was the first on the scene. And she kind of gave some details of it, which it just makes it even scarier, right? Like she ran up on him and I guess he asked, am I going to die? She says, you're going to be okay. And then the suspect was found not far later, had shot himself in the arm. And you reported all this. Very strange. The kid, the criminal, the shooter, the attempted robber was wearing slides. So it seems like this was more of like if you're planning to rob a guy, you don't wear slides or sandals to do it. So it sounds like this was more of like a spontaneous act after all. And it's just crazy, man. Just
broad daylight.
Yeah, broad daylight. Just sad all around. But the great news is that Ricky Pearsall is doing well. Getting out of the hospital less than 24 hours after this happened, that's a very good sign for Ricky's health long term.
Yeah, still we haven't gotten an update on like what this means for his season or his football career, and I think that's probably it is an inappropriate question. Like right now, they just got to make sure that he's good in terms of his future. It seems like he got so lucky. Like if it was a couple inches to one way, it could have hit his spine, and a couple inches down, it could have hit a vital organ. Like really freaking, it's almost like Pulp Fiction. It's like divine intervention. It's like you're telling me God came down and stopped that bullet. Yeah, I'm telling you God came down and stopped that. I don't know. It's almost like the Donald Trump thing too. It's like it was this freaking close, and he moved his head. I don't know. It's very, very spooky. Really scary. That makes me feel like I need to reassess how I move in public. Not that I wear a lot of, like, I have a Rolex or anything, but like I do have a social media presence, and I think it's probably a bad idea to announce where you're going to be before you go.
It is. A lot of rappers have seen the same fate by posting where they're at on their stories, and then they died. You just got to be careful and got to be smart. And a lot of people are talking about how unlucky Ricky is because of all this has happened, and I thought about that as well. But really, he's extremely lucky.
It depends on how you look at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
My first reaction was, man, what an awful offseason. How unlucky. When will it stop? But like maybe the luck just turned.
Yeah, you can't get luckier than that. To survive that and to miss all vital organs, great news for Ricky Pearsall, and hopefully there's something to be learned about all of this, and some action is taken. It's a high-profile person, and just a mess, man. I'm just glad he's all right, and everything's good in that regard.
I feel pretty confident that the Niners, maybe the NFL in general, are going to change how they approach protecting their players in public. I think this can't happen again. And I think it was there's a lot of things that teams could probably protect a player from in this case. Like, you can't force them, tell them what to do, but there should probably be like a whole symposium before the season, like, hey, you're a target. These are things you shouldn't do. These are things you shouldn't do.
One question I still have after reading the reports, all of them, is like, was he alone? Because
seems like
he was alone. The police officer didn't mention anyone else on the scene with him. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems like he was. He's got to be careful, man.
Yeah, because it said he was at an autograph signing earlier in the day. I would imagine there were bodyguards there. But then, I don't know, did he go to Union Square to shop for the party? Did he go alone? I mean, it seems like if he had bodyguards at the autograph signing, one of them should have gone with him. And maybe that seems not going to use that word too much, but look what happened. I feel like you gotta take precautions now. I mean, we still have to take our shoes off in the airport because of something that happened 23 years ago. Like, things change, and now the world is a bleak, scary place, and got to take precautions.
Absolutely, yeah, you do. I think it's probably good to know, like, there's a lot of bad people in this world, obviously, and it is a dangerous place. But overall, crime statistics are down in general. So I don't want people to freak out and come down too hard on the city. I know the city of San Francisco has had some problems lately, but overall, like if you look at the history of it, the evolution of things are actually getting safer over time. But there's still a lot of bad people out there, and you still have to be extremely cautious and careful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to San Francisco and being like, well, I read the crime stats. I feel pretty good today. It's like, I don't know. Right. Weird things happen.
Right.
I don't want to be, the random act or the random victim. Like, just keep, and that's how I've always approached things as a guy from Oakland. Like, just don't take anything for granted. Keep your eyes open. Make eye contact with everyone you see and give a little head nod. Hey, what's up?
Right.
How you doing? I see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Be careful. Absolutely. Joseph DeSoto says the GOATs, much love.
Thank you, Joe.
I've been playing golf at Lake Chabot, and I want to get them to sponsor me because I shout them out so much, and I hope that people go because I say so. But anyway, on the 14th, 13th. On the 13th hole, there's these goats right at the end of the green, and I was like going up being like, you the goats, because they are the goats.
Yeah.
It cracks me up. John says, Ryan Grant, happy Labor Day. Appreciate what you both do. And Pearsall has an angel on his shoulder because how he survived that with no long-term damage is nuts. We don't know what the long-term effects are, frankly.
Yeah.
So let's stay holding our breaths and crossing our fingers on that one. But so far, so good.
Yeah. Ricky's going to be, when I'm going to assume he's going to come back. I don't know that. I'm just going to assume on the positive, optimistic side that one day he's going to play football again.
I would assume that.
And when he does, you can guarantee he's going to get a huge ovation, probably from both teams that are there.
Absolutely. Okay. So as Ricky Pearsall was in SF General Hospital, John Lynch dropped everything to be there with him. And Kyle Shanahan was hosting a party at his house. Must have felt like he was in a tough position. It was his house. It was all the players, couples, I don't know, at least one celebrity and Rick Ross. You take it from here. There's some information that you broke. You can go ahead and say it.
Yeah, I was told that the 49ers PR staff or whoever it was told the entire 49ers team, no videos, no posts, no social media from the party at all. Probably out of respect. Now, you talked about how they FaceTime Ricky Pearsall, and Ricky Pearsall ended up getting out the next day. So for
that's what I heard. I got a DM from someone who said they were at the party, and they said that they got Ricky Pearsall on FaceTime. They put him on a television. He was talking to the whole team. That's what I heard.
So what I think happened when I first saw that picture of Kyle Shanahan and Rick Ross, I'm like, this feels inappropriate, right? And then I kicked back and started like understanding what was going on. Then I got that message from my friend about them not being allowed to post and being aware of the situation. Then I saw you talking about they were on FaceTime with Ricky. Then Ricky gets out the very next day. So after absorbing it all, it seems like what happened is they all spoke to Ricky, the whole team, FaceTime from the party, and he was doing better than most of us fans realized. Obviously, he got out the next day. So I think the 49ers realized that he was going to be okay at that point. So they went on with the party. And then the 49ers PR staff said not to post anything, and none of them did. However, Rick Ross posted a picture with him, Debo, Aiyuk, and Kyle Shanahan.
And a video with Kyle.
Yeah, so the 49ers organization realized that you don't want to do that while the fan base is still unaware of Ricky Pearsall's status is insensitive to do that. And so they made the 49ers aware not to do that. However, for whatever reason, Rick Ross did do that. So it sounds like the 49ers knew he was going to be okay, and they were going to avoid.
Well, Rick Ross doesn't work for the 49ers. He doesn't have to follow their rules.
Right. So that's what had happened. And
why do you think Rick Ross went to the party? Because he's friends with Kyle, or because it was a public relations opportunity for him?
Yeah. And
look at me with the Niners.
And Kyle,
I haven't made a hit in 15 years, but here I am.
Yeah. And Kyle hosted the party. I bet you he called. He probably called Lil Wayne first, right? And Lil Wayne probably couldn't make it.
He's like, no, I'm sorry. I have things to do.
Yeah,
Rick Ross like, I have a free schedule. I have nothing to do.
Not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right. So that's probably what happened. So it wasn't a good look. Like initially I was like, well, it feels inappropriate. But after like giving some time understanding the situation, they probably knew Ricky was going to be okay. And so they went on with the party. And I'm sure they all followed up with him the next day. While us fan base were like, this dude he's in the hospital. He might, we're thinking the worst, whereas they already knew.
Look, all I know is if I got shot in the chest and I was in the hospital, and anyone showed up to see me, even though like I was okay and I was going to get out the next day, I would appreciate it. And I'm not saying I'd like hold grudges if people didn't come, but like it would mean something to me. John Lynch comes hours after I get shot in the chest. I'll never forget that. Like it's bigger than football. It's bigger than business. I'll never forget that. My parents will never forget that. Like that's huge. Yeah. And I feel like at minimum, Kyle fumbled an opportunity to be that guy, to be a great leader, to be someone who, can show that he's more than just, an offensive guru, someone who's a little bit in touch with emotions and things like that. It's just a big missed opportunity. I'm thinking like, I can't prove it, but John went. And I feel like a lot of coaches would have, not even because they're saints or they're thinking about other people all the time, but it's like selfishly, this makes me look good as a coach. I get to go to the hospital and show that I'm compassionate. Like, how do you not do that? I would think that Harbaugh would do that. I would think that most coaches would do that. So it didn't really, it was 45 minutes away. It wouldn't have been hard, but he didn't do it. And I'm not saying it's like the worst thing in the world, but just kind of a fumbled opportunity that John Lynch didn't fumble.
Yeah, I think I would have definitely done that myself.
You would have went. You would have went.
Yeah.
You would have went. I would have went. And if you had gotten shot, you would have appreciated the people who came, and maybe you would have noticed the people who didn't, especially if it's your head coach and he's taking videos with Rick Ross. It's like, damn, dude.
It wasn't a good look. And I can promise you, like, I bet the 49ers were not thrilled about that getting out on that night, the organization from an organization standpoint.
Yeah, what do we know? We know that John Lynch went and it meant something to him. The team said, don't post anything because we want to at least show respect. And Rick Ross kind of like ruined that. But it's not all his fault,
And he didn't even show up wearing the proper attire. It was a great Gatsby thing.
And it was a themed party.
Come on.
He shouldn't have been let in the door. Like, dude,
where's your costume?
Hustling was like 18 years ago. You're not dressed appropriately. Come back.
Right. Yeah.
Port of Miami was a very long time ago.
Never been a big Rick Ross guy, to be honest.
He's okay. I mean, he made like a couple of songs, but I couldn't say I put him on a mix of mine ever.
He did, and you know what? He kind of stole his whole vibe from Biggie, like that thing. That's Ricky.
Yeah,
that's a little Biggie vibe.
Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, again, this is like we're waiting for Kyle Shanahan to show growth, and it's like I'm not surprised that he didn't go. Like I mean, when Trey Lance broke his leg, did Kyle Shanahan go on the field, or was he looking at his play sheet? Like he doesn't have that emotional component to him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll develop it at 50 years old, but at 45, he doesn't got it, man. He just doesn't understand why taking videos with Rick Ross while Ricky Pearsall's in the hospital is a bad look. He probably doesn't understand why that's tone deaf. He doesn't get it.
Yeah. I mean,
doesn't. And that's why John Lynch is here, because John Lynch absolutely does get it.
Yeah. And, a lot of fans will be mad that we're saying what we're saying, but the 49ers organization feels the same way. That's why they told them not to post anything. So
I wonder how Jed feels about the party. I bet Jed's happy that John went to the hospital. It's a bad look for the organization and the city. I mean, this is terrible. And you want to seem like the whole organization, the city's taking seriously. And
now, if we remove the Ricky stuff from the equation, this is a party that they do every year, and it was actually good to see Brandon Aiyuk back with the organization. So if you take the Ricky thing, this Ricky thing didn't happen, right?
Mhm.
Now, just if we take that out of it, it is good to see that Brandon Aiyuk back with the squad. I mean, there was definite contentious moments in this negotiation between Brandon Aiyuk and Kyle Shanahan, and so the fact he's at the party, everything's good now. Money will do that, I guess. $76 million will make you happy again, apparently. But it is good they're all back together, and it's kind of like a team bonding thing. Would have been nice though.
Yeah, it's all a big happy family. No harm, no foul. Everything's cool. Well, Albert Breer, Sports Illustrated, where I work, came out with an article today sort of detailing exactly the timeline of how things went down with Aiyuk and the Niners. And I just think it's fascinating. So before we move on and go to Trent, I just want to linger over the Aiyuk situation real quick. And I know people kind of are tired of it. But what Breer says is that the Niners made an offer before the draft, like $26 million a year. Aiyuk said no. They didn't up their offer until August 12th. So in between the first offer and the second offer, they were calling teams. They had deals in place with 3 different teams. It really seems like they were extremely open to trading him. If not, it felt like that was their first choice. And then on August 7th, Ricky, who no longer exists, the dog avatar guy who was breaking news kind of, says, hey, he's going to the Steelers. The trade is in place. He's going to Pittsburgh. And I mean, it's been reported like there was a trade in place. There was a contract in place. The Niners just never pulled the trigger on it because to me, it seemed like the public backlash from Niner fans was just so freaking strong that the Niners, 5 days later, have a meeting with Brandon Aiyuk. And you're like, you know what? We thought about it. And here's the Amon-Ra St. Brown deal, more or less. On August 12th, they had an epiphany. Halfway through camp, mid-hold-in, after they had already agreed to a trade with Pittsburgh and heard what their fans thought of it. I think that's really interesting. And it kind of reminds me of when they were about to draft Mac Jones and people found out and lost their freaking minds and they pivoted right at the end. Yeah. I don't know. What are your takeaways on how this went down?
Well, according to his agent, they also tweaked it after that August 12th deal. And it may not have been the total per year, but guaranteed money, wording, things like that. According to his agent, it was tweaked even afterwards. And that's what I finally got Brandon Aiyuk to agree. So it is, I think these guys understand it's business, but the reality is both Debo and Brandon Aiyuk were on the trading block going into the draft. Both of them were. And both of them are still on the team. So there is that dynamic, but I'm assuming they understand it's business. It is what it is. And that's why players have to think about their money first, because the teams are thinking about what's best for the team and thinking about how they can save money and what's best for the organization. Players have to think about what's best for them and their family. And so, fans get frustrated with players when they're negotiating these things, but these teams don't, look, there's the personal relationships that you build with players and coaches within the team, but that's separate from the actual business that takes place, right? There's the 49ers were 100% willing to move on from Brandon Aiyuk or Debo if the right opportunity presented itself. So don't get mad at the players when they're thinking about, how do I make sure that my family's protected for years to come? How do I get the most out of this organization? I think it's a little bit hypocritical if we're critical on the players for doing the exact same thing that the organizations are trying to do.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting. Breer reiterates multiple times Aiyuk's first choice was to stay with the 49ers. And I believe it. I believe that. But was Kyle's first choice to re-sign, to extend Aiyuk? I mean, for 4 months, they took such a hard line. No, 26, take it or leave it. And we're drafting Ricky Pearsall. And we love him. It's like, take it or leave it, buddy. And then all of a sudden, and we're going to trade you to Pittsburgh. You want to go to Pittsburgh? Fine. Go ahead. We'll take the second and the third. We don't freaking care. And then all these fans go no, what are you talking about? You can't do this. And I feel like the Niners, ever since John and Kyle have been here, are very unwilling to do like super unpopular moves. What was the last unpopular move they did? Buckner, like 5 years ago. I think I almost feel like they float things to see what people think, and then they make decisions accordingly, because part of keeping your job is keeping the fans happy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason Ricky Pearsall was drafted, right? Like, you don't draft a wide receiver in the first round if you know you're bringing back Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel. You just don't do that, especially if you're extending Juwan Jennings. So you extended Juwan Jennings. If you knew you were going to extend Brandon Aiyuk and bring back Deebo, you're not going to draft a wide receiver in the first round and then also in the fourth round. So there was question about it the whole time. My understanding is that Deebo and BA were completely on the trading block until day 2. And then they weren't able to get anything they wanted, and they decided to not do it. So, I mean, I'm assuming that Deebo, Brandon Aiyuk can understand that part and move past it. But I just think fans need to have a little bit more patience, because it seems like whenever these situations arise, fans start turning on the player. Right? We're going to talk about Trent later, and I've never seen Trent hate at all until now. All of a sudden, people are saying Trent's overrated. Like, I think fans need to understand these players. They have to they have to look out for themselves. It's their job.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I wonder if this like Cold War standoff between Aiyuk and Kyle, or Aiyuk and the Niners, is over, because I mean, this is Kyle's pattern. Like, he takes a hard line. He tries to talk himself into being like, I don't need this guy. I don't need him. You know, I made him. I can live without him. And then he buckles and keeps him. And who was the first guy? Jimmy. He wanted to get rid of Jimmy for years. Whatever, man. I don't need you. I can just draft a guy. I'll bring in Trey Lance. No problem. And then it's like, at the very last minute, no, I need Jimmy. We want to keep Jimmy here. I really want Jimmy. It's like, and you did this now with Brandon. It's like, oh, he's a number 2. He's a product. You get $26 million. Like, take it or leave it. It's like, okay, Brandon, here's 30. It's fine. It's like, what do you really believe in? Are you just the guy who caves because you want to be liked by the fans and the players? I don't know.
What they need to do is, when they find players that fit their mold, which Brandon Aiyuk absolutely is. Brandon Aiyuk should be the kind of wide receiver that every team wants, but it's particularly Kyle, just because of how physical he plays and how aggressive he is in the blocking game, right? Brandon Aiyuk is basically, if you look at what Kyle wants from a wide receiver, that's Brandon Aiyuk. So to me, I tweeted out 2 years ago that Brandon Aiyuk's not the kind of player you trade. You jump on him early and extend him and make him a Niner for life. I think they need to do a better job at recognizing who those guys are early and making it happen early, instead of taking this hard line. I mean, I'm just glad Brandon Aiyuk's here. I'll put it that way. I think he's going to be great.
I'll take the other stance. Like, I would have supported a trade. I said it before the draft. I felt like, you know what? 26 million seems about right. They don't pass the ball enough to justify 30. I think investing in a quarterback and the wide receiver is too much. Like, no, trade him. I said that the whole time. And if he had done it, I would have been like, that took real cojones to do that. I respect it. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll work out. Maybe it won't. But I understand the thought process behind it, and I agree with it. But it felt like he just backed down. Like, it felt like we were on the same page. And then on August 12th, he was like, you know what? I completely lost my nerve. I lost my nerve. I don't want the heat. It's a lot of heat, and I don't want it.
Like, at 26, it seems like, hey, to me, 26, I'm like, keep him. But when you when you lag on it and it becomes 30, 120 million, then you're like, damn, like, that's a lot of money. Like, are you sure you want to spend that on a wide receiver?
And for months they were like, absolutely not. We're not going to do that. Absolutely not. And then it's like, okay, fine.
They did. Yeah.
I don't get it. Well, I kind of do get it. Maybe I'm just cynical. Hold on, we got a couple supers, and then we're gonna do some supers and sleepers. Shady Luke says Joe Rogan exposed Rick Ross.
I don't know.
Did he?
I don't know anything about it. I think
I don't really follow like either one of those guys these days.
Or something. Yeah.
Rick Ross. It's NorCal, bro. Says Tupac shot 9 times and was discharged the next day. Those punks didn't finish. Now they about to feel the wrath of a menace. Okay. Wow. Heath Cleland says, are these types of events ops to make some money? Are these type of events ops to make some money?
Talking about the autograph?
The autograph signing? I don't know.
For that,
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's probably a bad idea, man. You just got enough money and you haven't caught a pass yet, and it's risky, so don't do it.
Yeah, I mean,
would
you would
say.
think. I mean, it's pretty standard. You would think the security would be there. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, I mean, that was at the Cow Palace. I think that's important. I think a lot of people don't realize that the autograph signing was at the Cow Palace, which is in Daly City, which is not close to where he got. What is that?
Yeah.
30 minutes with no
And I
traffic.
feel like the big response on Twitter from a lot of people was like, "Oh, San Francisco, what's happened to it? It's terrible." Like, yeah, I mean, if you go to San Francisco, they could do better over there, but like this is every city. If you are 24 and you have millions of dollars and you say, "I'm going to be in this city today, walking around, and here's what I'm wearing," it could happen anywhere. Happen
Yeah.
anywhere. So
Not even city.
yeah,
It could happen anywhere in the
it could
rural.
happen in Petaluma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, it's sleeper time. Boom. Let's go Niners. Let's go. Brock first. Purdy. I already picked on this one. I feel like it was easy, the over. But what do you think? Like passing touchdowns, 1.5.
I said over.
One. Over?
2. Yeah, he'll get 2.
Well, we got to linger on this for a second. Are we expecting Trent Williams to be out there? And if he is out there, what is he going to be? Because Trent Williams is the most important factor in this offense.
He is. He really is the MVP of this team. I know we're going to talk about him in depth here. That's the question. I'm operating that he's going to be here, even though I don't know if that's the right operation, to be real, because things we've been hearing. But
yeah, well, we have to, because we're going to be picking all kind of offensive players. So I think right off the bat, we have to be transparent whether we expect Trent to be here or not. So yes,
let's go.
I think so too. I feel like the Niners aren't really. They talk tough in these negotiations, and then the last minute they're like, "Okay, so what did you want? Okay, here it is."
Yeah, I'm gonna assume he will be here, and then Brock Purdy will throw 2 touchdowns.
Okay, I like that. Rodgers 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Rodgers, he's a big question for me, man. Like, I think a lot of people forget how good Aaron Rodgers was. Like, he's two-time MVP, Super Bowl winning quarterback. When you watch him, he's one of the best throwers of the football that I've ever seen of all time. He's like top 10 best throwers of the football, just natural, just perfect thrower of the football. He struggled.
He's a 4-time MVP for the record.
4-time.
4-time. Yeah.
So the question is, what Aaron Rodgers are we getting? Are we getting Aaron Rodgers from the last season in Green Bay? Or are we getting Aaron Rodgers of old? Is he revamped? It's hard. That's why these first week 1 predictions are so difficult, because you really have no clue. Like, is Trent Williams going to be there? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be this old Aaron Rodgers self? But if I had to, I'd just say no. The 49ers defense last year, what did they give up? 19 points a game. I'm going to say no.
His last year in Green Bay, 2022, he wasn't great. His quarterback rating was 91, which is fine. He was 8-9. Jordan Love improved that team after last year, and last year, freaking Rodgers didn't play, so he was great. He was the back-to-back MVPs 2020, 2021. But at this point, yeah, I don't know what to expect from him. New team.
I think I believe in this defensive back unit heavily for the 49ers, so I'm going to say no on this one for Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, Brock Purdy, 115 yards from scrimmage, 115 and a half. 115 and a half. He's has a calf injury. I don't know when he's going to practice next. Maybe tomorrow.
Christian McCaffrey. I think.
Sorry, Christian McCaffrey.
It's just so tough, man. Like, is Trent going to be there? Is he healthy? I mean, I think is Christian is healthy, and if there was a game yesterday, he would have played. But they're just conserving him.
I would err on the conservative side here. Week 1, coming off an injury, like 115 and a half. Like, I don't know.
Let's say under.
I would say under. No disrespect. It just seems ambitious for the context of the game and where he's at. Receiving yards. Aiyuk, 54 and a half receiving yards. Week 1. He's going up against Sauce Gardner.
I'm still going to say yes for BA.
I'm saying no.
No. All right.
I don't know. We can. We can defer. But before we go, I'd like to discuss it because, man, he had 32 yards against the Packers in the playoffs. He had 49 yards in the Super Bowl. He hasn't practiced yet this offseason. I just wouldn't be surprised if he had a slow start this year and had like 3 catches for 40 yards, 50 yards. Well,
it wouldn't surprise me. The thing I like about one of the things I really like about Brandon Aiyuk, and one of the reasons why he was so hard-headed this offseason is I get it. Brandon Aiyuk's overcome a lot of adversity. He 100% believes in himself and likes to prove people wrong. He gets off on it. And I feel the same way. And that's why I like BA. So I'm going to say he does just to prove everybody wrong.
Okay, I'll defer.
That he can get
I'll
50.
defer.
Yeah.
Let's see one more just for the sake of it. Kittle, 40.5.
I think that's an easier one than BA. I would give Kittle the up than over picking the BA one. But if you're going to pick both, I would give him the up.
I'm picking everything, dude. I'm trying to win all the money on this one. And I feel like the more picks you make, the better your odds are. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Jake Moody.
What's the
1.5 field goals made or 6.5 kicking points? How about 6.5 kicking points? I like that one. So field goals 3, extra points 1.
I don't know, man.
I'm a big Jake Moody guy.
Hey, you go with your gut on Jake Moody, bud.
To me, I think it's going to be a special teams field goal game. I think this is going to be all about Jake.
All about Jake.
All about Jake. This is a Hollywood movie coming out about him called that. 6 to make 260. Or I'm going to flex it out. Because if I get 4 correct, I win $4.80. And I want that $4.80. That's a cup of coffee. Submitting the entry. Boom. And then also, you guys need to, if you want to play, use promo code Cohn when you download the Sleeper app. And if you do use that, you get entered to win this signed Brandon Aiyuk jersey, which I've had for months. And I've been waiting to give it away because people weren't that excited about him because he was holding out, but now he's back on the team. And I feel like you like him again, I think. I hope. Because that would benefit me. So download the app, win a Brandon Aiyuk signed jersey, and tell your friends. Okay. Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Best guess, will he be on the practice field tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I'm going to say not tomorrow. No. I think he will be there for week 1, but I don't think he'll be there tomorrow. According to ESPN, and, who knows what their motivation for putting this out or where they're hearing this from, but according to ESPN, Trent Williams is reportedly a serious threat to miss games this season. Williams is extremely happy about how the contract negotiations have gone, and he continues to hold out. That was reported yesterday. So do I think he'll be there tomorrow? No. I think he'll be there before week 1. They'll wait to the last minute, but I don't think he's going to be there tomorrow. What do you think?
I don't think he's going to be there tomorrow either, but he may be there for the week 1 game. This is, I think, how it could work. During the regular season, he often doesn't practice on Wednesdays anyway. That's the vet day for him. He'll practice on Thursdays. And that's it. Maybe he does the walkthrough the next day. So this week, the Wednesday practice is on Thursday because they're playing on Monday instead of Sunday. So the day that Williams generally would practice would be Friday. So it seems like if they can get him on the field for Friday, they can say, hey, look, it's business as usual. I mean, he wouldn't have been practicing anyway. It's Trent Williams. He's the best. He can roll out of bed and be the best. Maybe that's all true. So I'm thinking Friday is the sort of deadline. And if he's not out there Friday, that's a bad sign. And it's looking like the Niners didn't come correct and that Trent Williams is, I'm not going to say stand on business because I don't want to use too many cliches back to back to back, but standing on business. Damn, I said it.
Yeah, you had to.
I had to.
Here's another question for you, Grant. Let's say he does show up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? They practice Saturday and would play on Monday.
Yeah.
Let's say he does practice Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 3 practices to prepare himself for an NFL game. Now, this is a Hall of Fame left tackle, no doubt, first ballot. Is that really enough practice even for him? Is that enough practice?
No. And again, I feel like the Niners dragging their feet with this stuff, if they just end up giving him exactly what he wants right at the deadline, like they did with Aiyuk, it's like, well, I guess you made it dramatic and it was cool for the content creators to talk about for a while, but are you going to have a slow start to the season because of this? Because Bosa had a slow start last year and he talked about it. He had three sacks through the first 8 games and then he picked it up. I mean, what if Aiyuk has that same experience or Trent Williams? Does that mean you're going to lose to the Jets week 1? Because when the schedule came out, we all thought you were going to win that game. So I don't know. The 2 times the Niners made it to the Super Bowl, they started out hot 2019, they were 8-0. 2023, they were 5-0, and they got the number 1 seed. Starting slow and trying to catch up, they can do it, but they haven't ever gotten to the Super Bowl that way. So kind of important.
Yeah, Trent Williams on 3 days of practice is better than Jalen Moore on with a whole offseason, but it's not going to be the Trent Williams that we're become accustomed to. I'm just guessing. It doesn't seem like that's enough time to get him ready for the season. Now, I mean, are we dismissing these ESPN reports like too easily as well? Like they're talking about he might miss games.
No, I believe it. I just think that the Niners can't let that happen. They know what he wants, and they'll ultimately will give it to him. I mean, that's what happened with Aiyuk, right? It was like, here's 26. No, I want 30. The Niners like, no, we won't give you that. 4 months later. Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
So with Trent, I mean, he wants, I want to be the highest paid left tackle, and I want guaranteed money this year and next year. And I was like, no. And then it's like 3 days before the season. Okay, here you go. Why don't you just cut out the rigmarole, the yada, 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 and just get it done? We all know you're going to cave. Just do it. You're all in for this season. You have to sacrifice certain things for the future. We get it, man. We support it. Go all in. Do your freaking thing, dude. Like, don't sacrifice September to try to pretend like you're tough negotiators when you're not.
Yeah, and the reality is as good as Brandon Aiyuk is, he's not nearly as crucial to the team's success as Trent Williams. And I would assume Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and those guys know that Trent Williams is probably the MVP on this team. If it's not Brock Purdy on the offense, it's Trent Williams, I would imagine. I think Trent Williams is the most important player on this offense. He makes the team go. If you look at statistically, Brock Purdy without Trent Williams is not good statistically. Christian McCaffrey has one less yard per carry before contact when Trent Williams is not on the field. I think Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch got to realize how important Trent Williams is to this team. And if they were willing to make this happen last minute for Brandon Aiyuk, you would think they would do it for Trent Williams. So that's
exactly.
Why I think
because if they don't get Trent Williams, done before the season and it lingers and they play week 1 without him and lose, I don't think fans are going to be really happy. They're just going to look so incompetent. Like, wait, why did you lose this game? I mean, you worked so hard to get Brandon Aiyuk back and have the whole team here, but you didn't have the left tackle, and so the offense scored 17 points and you lost? And Brock Purdy got hit 16 times? Like, what are you talking about? How did this happen? So it's like they can't chance it. They don't know what would happen to their quarterback against that excellent defense without their only good offensive lineman on the field. Like, something really bad could happen. They can't risk it. I just don't see it happening because it would just be too easy for someone like me to really criticize them for that. Too easy.
And I mean, I'm sure they're aware last year they were 0-3 without Trent Williams. So, I mean, I'm sure they don't want to go into this game. Just
get it done today. What are you waiting for? You know you're going to give him what he wants.
Right.
He's not going to wait. He's not going to meet you in the middle. He's not. He's going to sit out games and you're going to lose those games. And then his position's only going to get stronger. So do it now.
Do it now. And then also draft a tackle next time. You have an opportunity.
Like, nothing against Renardo Green, but you could have had leverage here. You could have had protection from Aiyuk and Trent with your first 2 picks.
You could have had what is his name? DeJuan Jones instead of the tight end you just released.
That's correct. Shady Luke says, is Trent playing week 1? Good questions. My Rhino says, hoping Ricky will come out for Monday Night Football, get ovation, and maybe join captains for coin flip. That would be great. I would love to. I mean, God, can you imagine the first press conference he gives? Man.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Noe GQ Pena says, hey, Grant, do you like Niners theme fan caves? Sure.
Like a man cave? Is that what you're saying?
The Niners theme?
Yeah. Do it.
Sure. Why not? I don't have one, but I respect that you do. Or if you do, I do respect it. Okay. Brock Purdy, year 3, full off season. Throws a lot of picks in training camp. Hasn't seemed to matter yet. Has had a terrific freaking career so far. Only 21 starts deep, though. What do you expect for Brock this year?
So assuming that Trent Williams is on the team, because I'm going to make all these assumptions with Trent Williams is on the team. Otherwise, it would definitely change my prediction. But assuming he is, I expect Brock Purdy's mentality to be more aggressive. I expect him to be more confident. a better understanding of the offense, complete control. So therefore, I think he's going to be more aggressive, which is going to lead to more yards, more touchdowns, more interceptions, and a slightly less a drop in completion percentage. So I actually do this before every season. This year, my prediction for Brock Purdy is 4,490 yards, 250 more yards than last season, 3 more touchdowns, 34, and 3 more interceptions with 14 instead of 11. I have his completion percentage again dropping 1.5% to 67.9, just because he's going to be more aggressive. He's going to throw a little bit more picks. We saw a little bit of the preseason. He's just kind of letting it sling a little bit. So I think Brock Purdy is going to be overall a better quarterback, more confident, more comfortable in the offense. But as a result, more yards, more touchdowns, but also more interceptions. That's my prediction for Brock Purdy this season, assuming Trent Williams is here.
Yeah, I feel like his efficiency is going to come back to earth a little bit. And the evidence I have is like last year he would routinely have games like against, I mean, I'm looking here. I mean, he had games where his quarterback rating was 134, 144, 148, 158.3. He was 21 of 25 against Tampa. I mean, he was just unreal for a while. And then Baltimore happened, where a good defense with a good game plan that was very Brock Purdy specific, you know, a defensive coordinator who'd really looked at Brock for maybe 20 games, and it was bad. And then since that one game, he hasn't really had like a super dominant game. He did well against Washington, who stunk. But then in the playoffs, his quarterback rating was 86, 89, 89. And the year before, his quarterback rating in the playoff was 131 against Seattle, and then 87 and 90. I feel like as he gets a little bit more exposed to the league, you know, everyone gets exposed to the league, and the scouting report gets better on him. I think he's going to regress statistically. We're going to see the interceptions go up and his quarterback rating come down from like 111 to more like in the 90s. Which is, there's no shame in that. That's my prediction. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we've seen it a little bit against teams that don't even necessarily have great defenses, but just defenses that are dialed into what he's doing and have good game plans.
And well, I mean, to your point, that coordinator for the Ravens is going to be, he's the head coach for the Seahawks now. So Brock's going to have to face that the defense twice a year within the division. So that part is different. What about touchdowns and yards? Do you think that improves? Goes higher?
I can see pass attempts going up. Christian McCaffrey, they want to preserve him. And Brock, they need to sort of get a little bit more evidence before they make an offer. How much exactly should they offer him? Well, instead of being 32nd in pass attempts, let's get a little preview of what life could look like when he's the driving force of the offense. I think we may see a little bit more of that. So, yeah, more everything. More passing attempts, more yards, more touchdowns, more picks, more responsibility, more scrutiny, all of it. Because now people really realize, like, it's not just, hey, you're a great story and you've exceeded expectations and you're the underdog. It's like, nah, you're about to be the highest paid player in the league if you replicate what you've been doing. So high stakes. And once he gets paid, people are going to really, really over. I mean, Jared Goff, Tua, those guys just got paid. Jordan Love off of Trevor Lawrence, those guys are all going to get a ton of scrutiny that Brock's about to get.
So let's say Brock does exactly what we're talking about: more yards, more touchdowns, more interceptions, smaller completion percentage. Let's say he does all that. What does that mean for his contract situation next year, and how do the 49ers approach it? Is it a last-minute type thing again?
I mean, like me, I don't think he's worth $55-60 million a year. I think he's a very good quarterback, but I don't think the Dolphins were smart for extending Tua, and I don't think the Niners would necessarily be smart for giving Brock what they would have to give him. So, same way I felt about Aiyuk. Like, if they lowball Brock next year and offer him just $45 million a year, I'm with it. But what's going to happen is Brock will hold out for what he can get, and the Niners will pretend like they're not going to give it to him, and then they will. So that's my prediction. Like, they're going to end up paying Brock what he's worth on the open market, even though it's not necessarily the best idea.
I mean, look how they handled Jimmy, right? There was no holdout. For one, you can't have a quarterback holding out like that. You can't do that.
Well, Jimmy was going to be an unrestricted free agent. They would have had to franchise tag him.
Right. Yeah. But they jumped on it, made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, as opposed to franchise tagging him, which they probably should have done. Right. So
Definitely should have done.
Definitely should have done. Right. Or just waited for
Not trade for him, or just draft Patrick Mahomes.
Right, get Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Yes, that would have been the draft.
That would have been the
Patrick
move.
Mahomes.
He's
That
pretty
would've
good.
He's not bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like with Brock is gonna be different. I feel like if he looks like he had last year, even close, I think they jump on it early and lock him in. I think that
Why not? What a great opportunity and time to like change your strategy for negotiating with players and just because I mean, he's not going to be the only quarterback who's eligible for an extension next year. And if they wait and he's the last guy who gets the extension, he'll be the guy who gets the most money.
If there's one position you don't want to wait on is quarterback, because that it's an insane market. Like how much they're getting paid. Guys are going to be getting 65. There's going to be a dude get 70 million this coming season. There really is.
I don't know. Maybe it doesn't really matter because like they're all in. And I was kind of, we used to talk years ago, like, man, they're all in. Who cares about the future? Like, man, if they give Brock all that money after giving Brandon all that money, like this team is going to be in a bad spot in like 3 or 4 years. But I don't think anyone cares.
Yeah. Well, Kyle probably knows 3 or 4 years. If I don't win a Super Bowl, I could be gone.
Yeah. Who cares? Yeah, just go all in now. I'm in year 8 with no Super Bowl. The owners could be getting a little antsy. You don't know. So mortgage the future. It's their future. It's not necessarily my future.
Let me ask you a question. We talk about how Kyle's pretty much concrete in this organization. He's not going to go anywhere. We talk about that often, but a scenario popped in my head last night because I was thinking about Super Bowl contenders, right? Only one time before has 2 teams met in the Super Bowl from the previous year. If the Niners meet the Chiefs in the Super Bowl this year and they lose again, that might be an instant you're done type thing. Don't you think?
I don't know. I don't know how Jed thinks. It seems like last year he was so giddy just to like be. I mean, he was happy to be in the NFC Championship game last year, but things change. Like maybe Jed's down on Kyle because of what happened a couple of nights ago, and maybe he feels like Kyle isn't the best representative of the organization. And if that's how you feel, then all of a sudden you could start looking at his accomplishments with a glass half full, empty perspective. Like, like that's the way I look at it. Like, he couldn't seal the deal again, huh? Couldn't seal the deal again, huh? And he's not necessarily making and we need to have John Lynch around to make us look good because Kyle's a little tone deaf at best. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, after 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, at what point do the owners say like, all right, man, like it's the same story every year. And it's good. You're a good coach, dude. You're a very good coach, man. But you're just you're not gonna close the deal. It's been a long time.
Particularly to me, Chiefs, Niners, Super Bowl, and the Niners lose again. To me, that if that's the scenario, I think it's
what if they lose to anyone? What if they lose to the Bengals? What if they lose to the Chargers? I mean, you go to the Super Bowl and you lose again, and you had a lead in the second half. Like,
yeah. I was listening. Man, I don't know. I was listening to your interview with Ira Miller, which was great, by the way. And he was just talking about, I mean, it's simple when we talk about it and we understand it, but it really is the difference between, the greats and the good, which is just finishing. Like, you got to find a way to finish. A really true great coach finds a way to finish, and Kyle has not been able to do that yet.
It's for anything in life. Like, you could have a great dissertation. You're going for a PhD. If you don't finish it, it doesn't freaking count. It's nothing. You got to finish. Otherwise, it's not an accomplishment. You can't go around the rest of your life being like, man, I almost got a PhD. Like, I was so close. You should have seen it. It was great. Like, no, you didn't finish it. You essentially wasted your time. You didn't do anything. Not to trigger people in who went, I didn't go to graduate school. I'm just saying, like, any accomplishment is only accomplishment once you finish the deal.
Yeah. You got to
You didn't accomplish anything. You had an experience. You learned things, but you didn't finish, so it wasn't an accomplishment. His resume is still bare, which is crazy to me because of the way people talk about him.
Yeah, man, it was good. Good. If you guys have not watched that Ira Miller interview, when was that? Friday? Make sure you guys.
It was Friday.
Yeah.
Ricky's B-Day is 9-9 would be legendary if he plays.
I don't know. That's so quick.
Dude, leave him. Let's leave him alone. I think that's.
Yeah,
man. I mean, I don't even know if he was going to play before this because the shoulder was messed up. He was in a blue non-contact jersey in practice last week. So adjust your expectations. Give him some time. It was 2 days ago he was asking a police officer if he was going to die. Well, relax. Just saying.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. That's our show. Cohn and Hensley. Ryan G. Hensley. Make sure you subscribe to Ryan's channel. A lot of you guys did, because last week we did the four-man front 49ers roundtable on his channel. Got a lot of people going over there, which was good. And then this week it's going to be on whose channel?
The Coach.
The Coach. So make sure you guys all subscribe to his channel. And then the week after that, it'll be on Jesse's, then mine after that. So if you're watching, you got to definitely subscribe to all of us because we're a team.
And happy Labor Day, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the last day I can wear white on white?
You know what? I wear it all year long, and I don't care about anybody's. I don't care about society's rules about whether I can wear white or not.
Absolutely not. That's such an LA consideration in the Bay. We do what we want to do.
Yeah, year round.
Year round. See you guys.